Thank you for being here today. I know you have lots of choices, other places you need to be, and I know some of you have to run off right at 1:30 to teach classes. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are on Treaty 1 territory and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Making this acknowledgement is a small step towards reconciliation, and I'm proud of the leadership that this university has played in reconciliation in Canada. I also know that acknowledging place is a small step in our journey to where we need to be, and we remain committed to listening to and partnering with Indigenous communities, being inclusive and expanding our historical and cultural knowledge. Please join me in welcoming Jennifer Nepanak. I thought she was going to make a surprise appearance, but she's gone home sick today. I think some of you might have seen me walking in the hallways with Jennifer recently. So she's come to us as our new Associate VP Indigenous Engagement, and she comes to us from the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. She is a relationship builder. She's very well respected by all who know her, and she will guide our ongoing journey of reconciliation and help further strengthen UWinnipeg's bond with Indigenous people and communities. At UW, we will continue to measure our growth, not just by the number of students in our hallways, but in terms of quality and impact. The energy here on campus, especially at this time of year, is incredible. I love student and faculty orientations. I love helping students find their classrooms. I like it when alumni return for homecoming, and I like to cheer on our Westman teams as they launch into a new season. It's a very invigorating time of year, and we're lucky we get to have this happen again and again. And I'm very proud of the talented faculty, staff, and students that add so much value and resilience to our community. We're a university that's proud to be in the inner city. We are a community within a community. We are a system within a system. And our community itself is very large, complex, and diverse. It includes about 10,000 students, 350 faculty, 50,000 alumni, a 35-member Board of Regents, a 70-plus Senate, members of the Indigenous Advisory Circle, and we have affiliated entities like the University of Winnipeg Foundation and the University of Winnipeg Community Renewal Corporation. So every member of this large community is very passionate about our future, and as you can imagine, I get lots of advice. I do listen, and sometimes the advice is contradictory, and I try and make sense of it all and come up with solutions to meet both today's needs as well as future needs. And as I look back on my 5 years in my first term, I'm very proud of this community and what it has accomplished. The completion of Leatherdale Hall right behind us, which by the way was donor financed and is fully paid for. The introduction of a 3-year budget strategy, which has resulted in a series of balanced budgets. The implementation of an Indigenous course requirement, 59 courses actually, and this gives our students a range of options to fulfill the requirement. The intent is to ensure our graduates have a baseline knowledge of Indigenous perspectives. I'm honored to serve a second term as your president, and I look forward to what the future holds for us. Some of you may have seen a recent copy of my report to the Board of Regents. If you haven't seen it, it is available online. And the report offers at-a-glance insights into the advancements we are making over the past year. It provides data, evidence, and facts that showcase some of our successes and allows us to gauge our progress against our 5 strategic directions. While data is incredibly important, the heart of this institution is about the interactions between us, the relationships being cultivated, the way faculty inspire and motivate students to think beyond the status quo, to ask hard questions, and learn how to make an impact. We all know that facts are useful, but hearts and minds are won through relationships and compelling stories. And we're blessed to have such talented and knowledgeable faculty who understand how to bring both together. At UWinnipeg, we prioritize academic excellence and renewal. We have a long history of academic excellence, of seeing students succeed in their academic and career goals. We work hard to cultivate a learning environment that exposes students to diverse ways of thinking, empowers them to contribute to research and scholarly work, and provides opportunities to develop the leadership skills they need to succeed. We create this environment by promoting the equity and diversity of our faculty, incorporating technology and work-integrated learning, and making thoughtful decisions about programs and faculty succession plans. We are proud to introduce students to diverse perspectives because we know this cultivates resilience. We remain committed to protecting, preserving, and strengthening the academic core of our institution. This is increasingly important as we enter an era where we need to preserve university autonomy as government regulation and accountability measures increase. Accountability for public funding is important, but we must ensure it doesn't come at the expense of our freedom to dig deep into questions that matter. It's more important than ever to be relevant, to demonstrate impact, while also preserving the core of what it is we do to serve the public good. Over the past year, we've continued to work towards developing an institution-wide plan to increase and support equity, diversity, and inclusion. We've received a 2-year NSERC grant to support this work. This helps ensure UWinnipeg continues to be a diverse, inclusive campus for everyone, as well as examining and eliminating any systematic barriers that might prevent merit-based employment decisions. I am proud of the work being done on campus to ensure traditionally underrepresented communities have the chance to excel. In 2017, Dr. Chantal Fiola and Sharon Paul-Ruprai hosted UWinnipeg's groundbreaking Call to Conversation conference. This created opportunity for critical dialogue that resulted in calls to action celebrated earlier this year. This is a great example of how scholarship and community can inform policy. Working with faculty, elders, Two-Spirit Manitoba, and queer trans people of color strengthens our ability to create a diverse and engaged university. This year, we welcome the official launch of the Two-Spirit Archives at UWinnipeg, a collaboration between UWinnipeg Archives and the Two-Spirited people of Manitoba. This is the most comprehensive archival collection of Two-Spirit material in Canada. I'd now like to talk about the importance of diversity in the classroom. Our student population is made up of 10% Indigenous students, which is up from 8.3% in 2014. We also continue to see an increase in international students. Our 2018 enrollment was 9.5%, up from 6.1% in 2014, and we will see in November that this number has gone up again. To ensure students get the support they need as numbers increase, we will be enhancing resources for the International Student Services Center. We know that diversity in our student body is having a positive impact on classroom discussions, and we know that our learning environment is richer because of this diversity. Ideally, we want our faculty to be reflective of the students in the classroom. We also recognize that faculty are here for decades and students are here for years. 3.8% of academic staff identify as Indigenous, 5.2% as persons with a disability, and 11.9% as a member of a racialized community. Most faculty stay for about 35 years. Of 350 faculty, about a dozen retire each year, and in 2018 we hired 14 new faculty members. So compare that to student turnover. With over 2,000 students arriving at the beginning of a year and close to 1,700 graduating, our student body obviously changes much faster than our faculty complement. So speaking of change, we are taking a serious look at ways to improve our library. We've consulted with students, staff, faculty, members of the Indigenous Advisory Circle and Library Advisory Committee to look at ways to make our library a more modern and inclusive learning environment. And next year, we will launch a campaign to raise funds to support this initiative. I'm looking forward to sharing a video of the project at the end of my talk today. And I can say personally that I would not have gotten through my time at UW if I didn't find a quiet study space and I didn't take advantage of the supports that the library provided me. We also prioritize student experience and success. In everything we do, our ultimate goal is to provide students a quality education that sets them up for lifelong success. 90% of our students are satisfied with teaching quality, and 89% of our graduating students are satisfied with their decision to attend UWinnipeg. Over half of our students graduate without education-related debt. And we are glad to hear that students are saying their education is good value for investment. But we're also asking them to tell us ways we could improve. Some students have expressed concern about delays in program completion because the courses they need to graduate are not available when they need them. We've responded by adding 2 academic success advisors to help students at risk of leaving connect with the right resources, and we've also taken steps to invigorate and strengthen our process around course deletions and additions. As you know, it's been historically difficult to track what happens to students after they leave the University of Winnipeg. If you look at our retention rates, they look kind of low, and in some instances it's just because students are moving around to other institutions. The province of Manitoba is looking at a new student-level data project that will help us gain a clearer picture of how students move around and through the system. Our students learn to think creatively, solve complex problems, and communicate effectively with people from diverse backgrounds. And we know these skills are building blocks for successful careers. And while students have the opportunity to gain a well-rounded skill set in the classroom and in the lab, we also see how valuable it is to gain hands-on skills outside the classroom. Work-integrated learning allows students to gain academic credit with relevant work experience that connects them to employers and helps inform future career decisions. Work-integrated learning also includes experience gained through practicums, internships, co-ops, and service learning. In our education program, all students participate in practicums as part of their studies. This past year, we celebrated a group of exceptional education alumni this spring at our Access Awards evening. We heard from some award-winning students about the impact UWinnipeg has had on their careers. Kim Angus graduated in 2013 with a University Silver Medal in Education. She told us the Access program helped build her confidence, helped connect her with her Indigenous cultural identity, and left her feeling more fulfilled at work. Another way UWinnipeg students participate in work-integrated learning is through cooperative education, which had 77 students across a range of industries last year. Co-op is open to students in our applied computer science and faculty of business and economics. While some students take part in just one co-op placement, David Boss enjoyed co-op so much he took part in 4 separate placements, giving him experience at Statistics Canada, Transport Canada, Wawanesa Insurance, and Ubisoft. Ideally, every University of Winnipeg graduate would have at least one work-integrated learning opportunity available during their education. In the coming year, we will develop a work-integrated learning strategy with this goal in mind. At UWinnipeg, we prioritize Indigenization. As Canada moves into an era of reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, we have a crucial role as educators. This spring, Inspire CEO Roberta Jameson, Winnipeg One Chief Superintendent Pauline Clark, and Elder Barbara Bruce and I met with the first cohort of students in the Build From Within Teacher Development Program. This unique program is providing pathways for Indigenous students to become education leaders. Graduates will go on to teach in Winnipeg schools, inspiring and supporting future generations. This year, we also officially launched our Indigenous Insights program with CN signing on as our premier partner. This program is an incredible learning experience for organizations wanting to understand and respond to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to actions. We recognize the current and historical oppression of Indigenous peoples in Canada and acknowledge the role universities have played. But step into our classrooms today and listen to the dialogue taking place. That's where you'll see culture shifting from what it was a century or even a decade ago. We have many champions of reconciliation on campus, and their work is informing community and government organizations in Winnipeg and beyond. Dr. Yvonne Vesna's Toolkit for Inclusive Municipalities in Canada and Beyond has recently been released by the Canadian Commission for UNESCO, providing a learning model for municipalities to engage with Indigenous communities. Dr. Gino DiStagio has spent more than a decade coordinating a study of homelessness and mental health in Canadian cities, and he recently co-authored a report, Indigenizing Housing First, Localized Approaches to Ending Homelessness, which is now in the hands of organizations across Canada, the US, and even New Zealand. Doctors Candida Rifkin and Brandon Christopher are inspiring a conversation about indigenization through a common reading experience. More than 700 students in 40 courses, taught by 28 instructors across 12 departments, will be reading and talking about the Indigenous comic, This Place, 150 Years Retold, as part of the One Book UW project launching this fall. These are just a few of the amazing projects spearheaded by members of our community. I'm proud that UWinnipeg is one of the first universities to create the Indigenous course requirement, exposing all of our graduates to Indigenous perspectives. We remain committed to partnering with Indigenous people, being inclusive to Indigenous perspectives, and expanding our historical and cultural knowledge. We value our partnership with the Manitoba Métis Federation. We are working with them on a 10-year partnership to provide policy research that will help them develop programs and make decisions. Over the past year, UWinnipeg researchers completed a study comparing the school readiness of Métis children to other Manitoba children. This research was given to the MMF to inform future initiatives, supports, and programs for children under the age of 5. Shortly after, the federal government announced significant support for Métis early childhood development initiatives. This research is already having impact. Last year, 75 Louis Riel bursaries totaling over $175,000 were used to support UWinnipeg students. Business and Environmental Studies student Megan Lindell says the funding has made a huge difference, making it possible for her to maintain a busy course load and volunteer in the community. We know that Indigenous students are underrepresented in the science, and we are always looking for ways to inspire a new generation of learners. In May, Dr. Melanie Martin led a first-ever Pathways to Graduate Studies program, giving Indigenous science students hands-on experience in a research environment. Sydney Leggett was a student in this 4-week program. Her data analysis on simultaneous PET and MR imaging produced such meaningful results, she was asked to present at the Manitoba Neuroscience Network meeting held here in June. She is currently in the early stages of an applied computer science degree. She wants to work in healthcare and is now considering a graduate studies as a way to take part in innovative research. The number of self-identified Indigenous students continues to grow on campus, and we continue to see an increase in the number of degrees conferred to Indigenous students from 80 graduates in 2014 to 123 in 2018. This year is special in that it has been recognized by the United Nations as the International Year of Indigenous Languages. Drs. Ida Baer and Annie Belanger received honorary degrees for the commitment to Indigenous language instruction. We also bestowed honorary degrees on Drs. Pawan Singhal, David Kershane, John Mighton, and Ruth Christie. These individuals care deeply about the next generation and make significant contributions to ensure future leaders are equipped for success. Throughout the year, we host many events to celebrate Indigenous culture on campus: Westman Indigenous Night, a graduation powwow, and Spring Feast, to name a few. We will continue to support Indigenous cultural events, community outreach, and Indigenous language programs. We also prioritize research excellence, knowledge, mobilization, and impact. Research is an essential part of UWinnipeg, impacting communities and businesses. Our faculty continue to demonstrate excellence in research, and they're making history in the process. This year, our academic researchers were awarded just over $12 million in external research funding. This is the highest revenue for research in UWinnipeg's history. Compare that to just over $3 million in the early 2000s, and you can see the astronomical growth that has taken place in a short period of time. We are thankful to industry partnerships, Tri-Council funding, and MyTax support to make this level of research possible. But it's the quality of our researchers who develop winning applications that is key to our success. Support for UWinnipeg research is continuing to increase, as well as an increase in matching funds to support external grants. This makes it possible for us to participate in some really exciting initiatives. A few months ago, we celebrated the official opening of the Center for Research in Cultural Studies and the reopening of the Center for Research in Young People's Texts and Cultures. We also celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Institute for Urban Studies and its commitment to examining important inner-city issues. This year, UWinnipeg's Canada Research Chair, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Action Plan, and 2018 Progress Report were approved by the CRC with a rank of fully satisfied. These reports were well received by external reviewers who welcomed the inclusion of the LGBTQ+ community as an underrepresented group. Over the past year, we've doubled our Canada Research Chairs from 4 to 8. We have 15 postdoctoral researchers and 286 research assistants taking part in high-quality research that has local, national, and global impact. There are many examples of UWinnipeg researchers making an impact. Dr. Mirjana Roxandic made headlines this year as she led a study of the first Neanderthal to be discovered in Serbia. And Drs. Christopher Henry and Christopher Bidnowski received $2.4 million to work in partnership with the Enterprise Machine Learning Initiative to promote machine learning and grow digital agriculture. And a great example of interdepartmental collaboration can be found in a project spearheaded by criminology professor Dr. Stephen Combe and women's and gender study professor Dr. Pauline Greenhill. They are exploring Canadian crime films from diverse perspectives through a Frozen Justice film series. The impact and implications of research extend far beyond the walls of our institution. This is evident in the seeds being sown with the new Langside Learning Garden, a project led by Drs. Leanne Block, Alan Diddick, Judith Harris, and Raphael Otfanowski. The space is designed for community engagement and community-based research and will provide opportunities for experiential learning, community classrooms, workshops, and social activities. I'd like to now talk about the resilience and financial health of the university. The Board of Regents originally approved a 3-year budget strategy in 2016, calling for the University of Winnipeg to increase revenues, decrease expenses, and balance its budget while supporting our strategic directions. As we enter the 4th year of our original strategy, we have made significant progress on our goals and continue to work on others. We are committed to maintaining affordability and improving financial assistance available to students. In 2018, about 14.5% of undergraduate tuition revenue was covered by scholarships, awards, and bursaries. PACE, Professional Applied Continuing Ed, and ELP, English Language Programming, have both exceeded their revenue and contribution targets from our original 3-year budget strategy. ELP has seen a 61% increase since 2014, and PACE has increased by 125%. This increase has allowed them to invest in their programs, to further increase their contributions, and subsidize core university programs. Sustainability and accountability are important considerations in our work. While it is good news that UWinnipeg's greenhouse gas emissions for 2018-19 fell by 11% from the previous year, we still have work to meet our ambitious environmental performance targets. Achieving a 50% reduction by 2020 and meeting 5% of energy needs with non-conventional renewable resources requires a major investment and a lot of collaboration. Earlier this spring, we began work on a solar panel installation, one of the largest in the city. And I'm pleased to announce that Diversity Foods has been named North America's most sustainable campus food provider. North America, most sustainable. That's something to be proud of. More than 60% of their ingredients originate within 100 kilometers of Winnipeg. So in closing, universities are faced with the challenge of doing more with less. We've heard that for a long time, while meeting increasing expectations. So as a smaller university, this means we have to be very strategic in our planning. We remain committed to growing leaders, building on past success, and remaining connected and responsive to community needs. We remain committed to quality education and relevance, which is evident in the success of our graduates, in their resilience, not just to adapt to change, but to lead change, change that matters. So what do I mean by change that matters? Sometimes universities are accused of kind of being stuck in the dark ages, and that's because some of our processes seem like they're from another time. But the real change is the change that happens every day in the classroom and in the lab. The conversation that starts with a question, generates debate, leads to the seeds of an idea, grows into a deeper dialogue, and perhaps turns into a cutting-edge research project. That is the work of academia, and it has a rippling effect on the local, national, and international community. But it doesn't take place in a day. In fact, it sometimes takes decades to see the results of meaningful change. So it's important that we don't get caught up in the impulse towards a knee-jerk reaction. And when I picked this day, I didn't know we'd be having an election tomorrow. But being in the middle of election season has me thinking about time horizons. While political cycles are 4 years or shorter, depending on how you interpret the rules, we must look further down the road. Our role in society is to foster resilience for the long haul. And to do that, we need to welcome diversity, even if it sometimes leads to disagreement. Because if each person around the table has the same background, outlook, and ideas, it will be difficult to adapt to the perturbations that come our way, and they will come our way. So let's continue to defend our core, the principles of academic freedom, and the work we do to create resiliency in a rapidly changing world. Let's continue to probe ideas deeply, to engage with diverse communities, to create innovative solutions for complex problems, and to invest in the success of our students, because that's what we do best. So before I close, I'd like to share a video with you that will give you a little sense of what we want to launch this campaign for, to modernize the library. And then after the video, I look forward to your questions and to connecting with you in the weeks and months ahead. Libraries are the heart and soul of a university, and that's as true today as it was when I was a student back here in the 70s and I first found the Library in the Sky in Centennial Hall. Libraries connect our researchers to cutting-edge research. Libraries hold special collections that very much relate to our personal identity as a university.
There's something about university libraries that people remember in ways that I think they maybe don't remember other campus spaces. Maybe where they met their spouse. It might be where they had a eureka moment that led to a career path somewhere.
It's a really important place in the university. It's where a lot of research is done, a lot of studying, where people go to really improve on themselves, their grades, and how well they can actually do in school.
My hub was kind of the Duckworth Center, and it was a really nice shift, like an energy shift, to be able to come into the library versus being in that space all the time.
My mother used to take me here as a child in the 80s. It was an exciting place to be because there was a lot of nooks and crannies. I would come up here with her to get books for the class, and it sparked my curiosity about what she was teaching.
You hear a lot about this affection for the library that we have on campus. It's kind of time we loved it back a little bit. This library was built when there was about a quarter of the student population that we have now. The way that we've had to grow into it is not giving our students and faculty the kind of space that they deserve. This was created as a two-phase process that would allow us to do some visioning and thinking about what a modern library means for U of W.
What we heard in consultation was, better quality space, so better access to natural light, more open collaborative spaces. The exterior facade is leaking, it needs new windows. but also touching on accessibility. 40% of the floor area is inaccessible. So could we link the mezzanines through bridges and bring the mezzanines up to an accessible level?
The digital age has changed research, it's changed learning. So it's about connecting students with technology,
More plugins, better Wi-Fi, better access to digital materials.
ensuring that 2 or 3 or 5 or 8 people can sit together in a room looking at a screen.
What sets this project apart is that stance that, yes, we want this place to reflect indigenization, and in a meaningful way.
Indigenization is good for all of us. It's good for all of our students. Canada's success and the success of our Indigenous peoples are tightly linked. We have chosen to make the heart of our university, our library, the cornerstone of indigenization.
We didn't just want a library that had an Indigenous section in it. We wanted to make a statement about the entire university through a redesign of the library.
How can we create a sense of space that speaks to Indigenous ways of gathering? And how can that create an identity for the library?
Ryan has thought through a celestial wayfinding design that would lead people around the library and guide them to different areas, which is quite beautiful.
I also am very excited about having signage in Indigenous languages. We are also committed to developing Indigenous language programs, so that would coincide with that initiative as well.
When we bring other ways of knowing, other ways of research into these spaces, we create a more active environment.
As a learner, you get to walk into the library and think, this is a space that was designed with me in consideration.
A new design presents opportunities to bring communities in the surrounding area together with faculty, students, and staff, and that's what libraries are supposed to do.
We wanted to be a space that a child could come into with their mom and say, wow, I want to be a student too.
I love this institution. It's such an important part of the community, and it's growing and drawing people in a way that is critical.
We want this to be a place where our students feel safe, inspired, and supported, and we want Indigenous pedagogy and Indigenous design to be front and center, respected and privileged.
When you create the types of space we're talking about, people will want to be here.
I just hear such wonderful feedback about the library and how people feel about it getting some love because they feel such love for it.
I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to see where it goes.